Hello everyone, this is Kim Smith, the Crafting Buddy, and today I'd like to show you my new fold card. This is what I'm calling a sneak peek card, and as you can see, it has this fold in the front, and the fold is generated by the way that you actually cut and score the card. And then when you open it up, you can see that the flap can show both ways. So this is like an easel that stands up and you got an extra flap on the front. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm using the Golden Honey Designer Series paper on this card in conjunction with the Honey Bee bundle that Stampin' Up is offering. So let's get started on making the card. First, you're going to take your paper. You're going to take your basic black paper, and of course we have already cut it here on the edge. It is 5.5 by 8.5, and so you can see I've already started trimming a bit on this, but I'm going to take my scorer and I'm going to score at the 4 1/4 mark. Again, I'm going to take my cutter and I'm going to cut between 1.5 and 4 inches. So I'm just going to line that up and make my slit. So now this part is actually folded and scored and cut. So I'm going to move my paper over to the 1 3/4 mark, move my scoring blade up, and I'm also going to score it here between the 1.5 and 4 inches. Once I get a good score here, I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to flip it. And again, I'm going to be lining up at the 1.5 mark. And I'm going to take my cutting blade and I'm going to cut from the score mark all the way up to where I had cut on the actual fold. So I'm going to make an incision here. Then I'm going to move it over to the 4-inch mark. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Just going to cut from there all the way down to your fold. So now that you have this is actually going to create your fold for the front of the card. Simple, but it makes your brain think very hard on how you need to cut this. So we're just going to fold it, and you see how the flap comes down there. And so this is just the basis for the card. The rest of it is very simple. So we're going to be using the Golden Honey Designer Series paper that was part of the celebration freebies. And we're going to be using the hexagon print as well as the foiled bees print. And so we're going to get our measurements together here. So we're going to actually need 2 of the bee prints. And those are going to be, the sizes for these are going to be 4 inches by 1 1/4 inch. So you're going to need 2 of those. Then you're going to need 2 pieces here, the hexagon print. This one is 2 3/4 by 4 inches, and this one is 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 square. I'm going to lay these to the side. And now we are going to take just some scrap pieces of paper here, and we're actually going to speed this up a bit and just show you that we're going to make 1 of the larger queen bee and 2 of the smaller bees. So you're going to take your die, cut out your 2 images, or your 3 images. We're going to take our Daffodil Delight dark blend and just color in the stripes on the bees. We're also going to color in the stripes on the DSP. And then once that dries just a bit, we're going to take our Wink of Stella and we're just going to bling up these bees just a little bit on the wings as well as the body and the head. This just gives it a little bit of dazzle to the front of the cards. I don't know if you can kind of see that there. And so the next step is we're going to take our gray granite and we're going to ink up our beehive and just stamp that. And then I've got a piece here that we have already cut out. This will actually lighten up as it dries. So I've got a piece that we've already cut out. And I'm taking my Daffodil Delight ink pad, and I'm going to use my sponger, and I'm just going to just dab it on here and add a little bit of the yellow hue to the beehive, and that just sets it off a little bit. We're going to actually use our Wink of Stella on that as well. And I'm not using the coffee filter for any other reason other than I just wanted to keep my space a little bit cleaner for this presentation. So we're just going to use our Wink of Stella and give it a little bling. And I'm about dry on my Wink of Stella here, but I'm going to get a little bit more gloss to it there. You might can see a little shimmer. Okay, so we're going to place these to the side. Going to take the front of our card and we're going to just put our adhesive on our 2 strips. And just attach them to the very front of the card. Just line it up. You'll have a little bit of a black border all the way around with the cuts that you're going to be making. So we're just going to line that up even and do the same thing with the second piece. And actually line that on the other side. So you see the black border around is when you are placing your hexagon print that you have the hexagons going in this pattern going in the same direction. So we're going to adhere this piece to our standard insert and just center it. This insert is the 4 by 5 1/4. You're just going to put adhesive on that and stick that to the inside of our card. And you can see that the window will place nicely right over the front of the card, the front of the insert there. So now you're going to do the same thing with your front and make sure that they're lined up properly. And we're just going to stick that on the front here on the flap. And now we're going to use our dimensionals and place them on the beads. We're popping up the 2 smaller beads on the inside. And then we're going to do the same thing with our beehive. We're going to pop it up and just adhere that to the very front of the flap. Just center it up. And then once we get done with that, we're going to take just a 3-inch long and 1/2 inch wide piece of black cardstock. And we're just going to make a snip in the middle and make little pennants on both sides. And this one's just a little bit wider on one side. It didn't cut very straight, so I'm just going to trim it up. It's not going to be exact, but it's fine. It's going to be behind the queen bee. So we're going to put a little adhesive on this, and then just stick this to the closer to the top of the beehive, and then add some adhesive to our queen bee and place her right over the top of that. So now the only thing that's missing on this card now is just the sentiment. So here we've just embossed the hello, as well as done a pennant for the inside, thinking you my sweet friend. So I'm going to just show you really quickly how we do embossing, and I always like to use my embossing buddy. So we're going to take our strips of paper, just rub the embossing buddy on it, use the Versamark, which is what helps the embossing powder stick to the cardstock, and make sure that you get a straight image. So we're going to stamp this on there. Going to stamp this inside sentiment on there as well. And then we're going to take our coffee filters here and just sprinkle some of the white embossing powder over the front, and just kind of keep going back and forth until we get the amount that we need on the front in order to do our heat embossing. And you always want to tap off any excess that you have, just to make sure that you don't have any halos or anything like that. And heat embossing takes a little bit of time, but it's really worth it in the long run. So once these get finished, they'll turn bright white. Then we're going to trim them down and make pennants on both sides. And depending on where you had your placement of your bees is where you're going to put your sentiment for the outside and the inside. So that is the card. We're going to put it to the side here, and I wanted to show you guys some of the cards that we made for my most recent card class. In addition to this one, we used some of the other Golden Honey and Designer Series paper and created 3 other cards, but we also used the same honeybee stamp set as well as coordinating dies. So we have 3 other cards here, and again we used the DSP, we used the dies to cut out the honeycomb pattern here. Some individuals pop out all of them. We popped out all in this instance, but some people leave some of the honeycombs filled like it has honey in it. And so we just added some of the other elements from the celebration freebies that were going on as well. The twine that goes along with the sparkly twine. And then also with this one, we used the Designer Series paper, but we also used the stamp set that goes along with it and kind of created our own Designer Series paper here as the background. So we just stamped that, colored it in with a Daffodil Delight. We've got all of the coordinating colors here, and then we also used our Wink of Stella for this one as well. So just show you these 4 again. And as I said, this was part of a weekend stamp class that we had, and I actually have 4 other kits that we did not have placement for. So I'm going to be offering a special. If you place a $50 order, and that order includes the honeybee bundle, I will send you all you need to make these cards in the mail above and beyond what you'd have to use for the stamped images and the dies. So again, with a $50 order that includes the honeybee bundle, all you have to do is notify me that you ordered it through my online store, make a comment on this video, and I will get this off in the mail to you. So make sure that you visit my online store at kimsmith.stampingup.net and take advantage of all the other items that are available with the Celebration catalog and the mini catalog. And if you're thinking about joining Stampin' Up, I would love to have you on my team. So until next time, this is Kim Smith, the Crafting Buddy, signing off. Catch you on my next video. Good night.